Hello and welcome to Why Golf Opinion Matters. This is the podcast where we celebrate everything about the sport with the great and the good of the golfing world, from the seasoned pros to those who have only just discovered their passion for the game. For those of you who haven't heard about Why Golf before, it's the place to go to find out why golf has such wide-ranging benefits for all of us. Whether you're an individual, company or federation, this platform is for everyone. If you want to check out everything we have to offer, just head to thisiswhygolf.com, which has been created to explain and explore why golf is so beneficial and quite simply one of the greatest sports on the planet. This episode, we're chatting to one of the world's biggest movie stars, which is exciting. You'll recognise Jamie Dornan from the roles in global blockbusters such as the 50 Shades trilogy and more recently Belfast, which was absolutely brilliant, as well as TV appearances in The Incredible, The Fall and Once Upon a Time. He's also dabbled in music, last year launched his own menswear brand called 1111 and is a model too. In 2006, GQ even labelled Jamie as the male Kate Moss. He's also been playing golf for years and once eagled the 18th on the old course at St Andrews. That was back in 2015 at the Dunhill Links Championship. I'm sure we'll get a lot of tips from Jamie. Jamie, great to see you. Thank you for being on our podcast.
Thank you for having me. I don't think I have any good tips that can help with the golf game, but I'll try.
Have you got nothing? No tips?
I mean, like practical tips. I mean, I think I'm at a stage now after a long time playing golf of just you just got to try and enjoy it, and if enjoying it, if you're competitive, I'm a very competitive person. I think I put too much on that of needing to score well or feel like I'm needing to play well, and actually acceptance is a big thing in golf, isn't it? And I wish I was at a point, and I would tell other people to just be at a point where there's an acceptance that you're not Rory and you're not going to go out and stiff it to, 12 feet, with every approach shot, and you're not going to bang it 320 yards in the middle every time. That acceptance is hard to embrace. But I'm trying to do that. I think it's frustrating if you have good golf in you, which a lot of us have, and that consistency thing we're all chasing. But sometimes I really can hit great big tonker drives and leave myself a putt and 8 tapes at St Andrews to hole an eagle, and that one time it comes off. And when you have those moments in you, you're always chasing those. And sometimes I wish that actually I was more the guy who, often older people who play golf, the older men or women that you see at clubs where they have a funny little swing, but they hit it straight. And they don't hit it very far, but it goes straight. And I actually wish that I sort of didn't have those big drives in me, or those sort of when they come off some jazzy looking golf shots in me, because they're so rare that they come off. And actually, I was just able to go up and just dink it, 200 yards up the fairway off the tee, and then I kind of would love that. And there's no show, there's no flair in that kind of golf, but you'd score better.
100%. It's like patting it down the fairway, isn't it? And when you play against an opponent who does that, it's so irritating. It gets in your head because you're thinking, I just want to, smash this one. And as you say, 300 yards, and it feels amazing. But then those players who do pat it down the fairway, their golf is pretty consistent. Always.
And it's, it's something you're chasing. And sometimes I feel I just need to accept that I'm for whatever reason not going to get consistent. It's a time thing as well, isn't it? I mean, Jesus, it's so hard to, play good golf if you're not playing a lot of golf. Although you were saying the other day that you went out and not playing a lot of golf and played well. And that happened. I think that's freaky and that it's lucky. And I think usually if you haven't been playing a lot and your coordination is slightly off and your rhythm's off because you haven't played, then chances are you're not going to play good golf.
No, it's very fluky if you do. But before we really get into things, the shirt, thank you. You've made such an effort. It's gorgeous. Where's that from? It's got little golfers on it.
I don't even know where it's from, but I tell you what, I bought it specifically for my my wife and I had a joint 40th last year. We did a big party at our house, where we used to live in the Cotswolds, and we did a big party in our house before we sold the house. And I don't know why I'd be wearing a golf shirt on my 40th. But, I felt that was the right thing, so I bought it specifically for that. And then I'm in Dublin filming at the moment, and I realized I packed it, and I sort of no idea. I packed it. I never, it was a year ago that I wore it. So it's my birthday next week. But then I thought, well, this is great. I can wear it because we're talking golf, so it's all worked out well.
It's as if it's meant to be. I'm delighted that the golf shirt has made an appearance on my golf. Let's go back to the 18th and when you did make that eagle back in 2015, playing with Peter Uline. And I watched the footage this morning, and you looked well, you were in shock, but also delight and ecstasy. What was that feeling like on 18 back then?
Listen, I played a decent level of a few sports. A very sporty childhood, and achieved not amazing things, but like did all right in them. But I think it felt like my sort of greatest sporting achievement. I think it was the fact that it was towards, it was on the most famous, arguably the most famous hole in world golf. I had my mate Mike on the bag that week. They've sort of clamped down on that a wee bit at Dunhill, but they used to. I haven't actually played Dunhill since 2017 because of schedule. I'd seem to always be filming around that time now. It's sort of torture. But I have my one of my best friends in the world, Mike Rogers, on the bag, and I sort of asked if I could do that, and I don't think they allow that anymore, which is fair enough. But it was extra special because he was there, and the grandstand's up, and it was full, and Sky Sports are there, they're filming you, and it was one of those ones where it's a very inviting tee shot. Unless you're a bit slicer, like I do tend to be off the tee particularly, but there's something about that, and I hit the Russicks the next year, I think, and I didn't get the sort of lucky bounce that the old person gets back into play. But I don't know, I hit a really, really good drive, and well over 300 yards, low, runs there, ran up, and I thought, God, that might be up near the green. It was sort of right at it, where the flag was. Really hit that well. Anyway, and I played okay that day. I was in a decent groove, I guess. And then I got up, I was playing with Peter Uline was my pro, but Steve Redgrave was playing in that group as well. And he had an old caddy. He has all the Dunhills, local St. Irish caddy. It's either Dave or John. It was one of those like solid. And it was quite clearly a big swinging right to left putt. I was in that sort of valley of sin. Yeah. And he said there was a lot of movement right to left there. And I was like, okay, I mean, I know. He wasn't very specific. He wasn't like, oh, it's like, you at that far post. It's just, it's a big swinger right to left. I went, yeah, no. I got that, yeah. And I did just try to it's one of those ones. Just get down in two and get a birdie on the 18th.
Oh.
And I hit it, and it was steamy. Like if you watched it this morning, it'll be you'll like if it hadn't hit the hole, it was probably 10 feet by, and I probably wouldn't have fancied myself a birdie. But it was just one of those ones that just hit it, dropped, and I truly was shocked. I was like, it was a real sort of moment of like, what a time to do it, with my mate and lots of people watching and Sky Sports cameras watching. So
heaven, just brilliant. Yeah. No. It's those moments though, isn't it, in golf that we cherish and we love and we look back on, making memories on the golf course, isn't it? Which is what the game's all about.
Yeah. Like I'm always trying to explain to people, I've said this before to people, that I feel like I spend my life sort of defending golf to people. Like I grew up in a sort of golf environment, and I sort of, I don't consider golf to be like an elite sport, but I understand in many realms and in many places it is, and I do understand that. There's a side of golf that I don't like, and there's a sort of laser wearing old guard, this has to be tucked in, that I think is negative about golf and that we need to sort of move away from, or try to make golf more accessible, cooler, younger, and fresher. I'm all for that. But I spend a lot of time, wherever I am in the world, sit beside someone at dinner, at something, whatever, and you say, I go, and they're like, golf, really? And you're like, right. So all that negativity, that all the things I'm talking about there, the negative connotations around the sport, they're valid. They are valid. And I always try to bring it down to the simplest form of, like, there's lots of clubs where it's not like that, right? There's lots of accessible clubs where also you don't pay those fees to join or whatever. It is an accessible sport, even if it's just going to a driving range and whacking balls. The thing about actual golf and playing the game of golf, for me, it's not just the social side of it, like getting drunk with the people you're playing with, whatever. It's not even just an alcohol thing. It's that thing of, like, which is a good fun part of it. If you are that way inclined and you're on a golf trip, it's great. But it's that thing of, like, you're with friends, you're walking around, often somewhere very pretty, often by, if you're lucky enough, you're surrounded by greenery. That's usually a given. But you're by a coastline where there's beautiful woods, like, it's all somewhere aesthetically very pleasing. People talk. I think you get the most out of conversations when you're walking. I think more interviews should be done on the move, because you up and you're freer, and you I don't know, it's like it clears your mind or something. So I think you're going for a big walk with people you care about, and having these great chats, like in the simplest form. Yes, in the middle of it, you're playing a game. If you're a competitive person, like a lot of people like to not admit that they're really competitive, and you play this really mind bending game. This is a game in the middle of it that is a game of real skill and mental agility. And what's not to what's not to like about it? It's not too strenuous. Unless you're got yourself pretty bang on the shape. Like you're just walking, and it takes a long time. I'm trying to, but for me, it's just like a no-brainer of, like, a great thing to do that is good for your mind and good for your soul. And
totally. I think you've summed it up really, really well. We've spoken to quite a few guests who have said exactly the same thing. It's about bringing people together, isn't it? That community that you feel, and physical exercise, the mental exercise as well, and how good it is for our health, mentally and physically. I just want to mention, because I saw some really funny clips last night. I have been watching you on YouTube a little bit, right. Which sounds a bit odd, but there was one really funny clip about you talking about you walking. And in golf, we walk a lot, don't we? We walk down the fairways. And I remember speaking to Colin Montgomery quite a few times. His psychologist has said, you got walk tall down that fairway, you own it, and breathe in the fresh air, enjoy yourself. But didn't one director tell you, Jamie, that you didn't, that he sort of wondered about your walk? What was that about?
Yeah, said that I did it. I sort of walked. It was in the fall, actually. The first series of the fall, which is 11 years ago now.
Wow.
And I was walking. So I thought I wasn't giving it much thought, to be honest with you. And then he sort of said, "Is that like a character thing you're doing? Just the walk there?" And I was like, "No, it's not. It's just me walking, really." And he sort of suggested that maybe I take sort of longer strides, was what he suggested. But a bouncy walk. And I was in my head about it for a long time, Yeah, I'm in and out of my head about it. We all have insecurities, and I have many. But weirdly, at the moment, this might trigger it back.
No.
But at the moment, I'm a bit like, well, look, it's got me this far. It's
yes,
okay. It works.
It's a good walk.
I don't really have back pain. I'm a good runner. I'm fit. My walk's obviously, it's all right. Like it's
great.
We're doing okay. I'm getting from A to B. So,
Oh, totally. It's very
yeah,
subjective the way people see you walk, but no, it was
sure.
just it was hilarious how how you explained that you were walking a bit too much on your tiptoes and you tried to
And I
walk more
think,
on your heels.
yeah, and I think it is I think it's hereditary thing. Our kids with three girls, and um, particularly number one and number three, um, are real tiptoers.
Yeah,
Particularly our youngest. She's just everywhere in her tiptoes. Um,
really.
and she's 4 now, and she's still, I don't think her heels have ever touched the ground. Like,
Heel first. What about your golf swing when you're over the ball? Where's your weight? What do you
and
think about it at all?
depends what happened on the shop before. Um, I don't know. I mean, like if I'm chipping these days, I think my right heel is up off the ground because I'm trying to give myself a better sort of attack angle there. Um,
Okay.
but it's very sort of YouTube golf I'm playing or something. It's like,
Oh, well, I want to talk about your simulator in just a moment, but I'm
oh,
thinking about you growing up in Northern Ireland, which you mentioned, and we had Podrick Harrington on for an episode,
yeah.
and he was talking about, just the glorious landscape there. You were surrounded by golf growing up. Was it inevitable that you were going to play?
I think maybe with this sort of where I grew up right outside Royal Belfast Golf Club, which I've been a member of for 30 years. I'm from Hollywood, same place as Rory, Hollywood Golf Clubs, two golf clubs in Hollywood, there's Royal Belfast, there's Hollywood. But around it, all of Ireland's like that, it is one giant golf course almost, and it's accessible in Ireland, anyone can go play golf, there's clubs where it costs more, and there's clubs that are maybe harder to get into, or we're sort of a bit fustier, but lots to the contrary of that. So it felt like just geography wise, and the sort of school that I went to, and other guys around me doing it, and the sort of influence of, well, Irish golfers, Eamon Darcy to O'Connor Jr. to Darren Clark to Paul McGinley to Harrington, all these like great Irish golfers. From small place, we seem to have produced a lot of great talent, and now
Amazing.
maybe arguably the most talented of this generation in Rory. So, it felt like a sport that was like there, that was so tangible that you could grasp at. I sort of wish I'd started it earlier. It wasn't my sort of summer activity really when I started playing a little bit when I was sort of 11 or 12, but didn't really take it up
Right.
properly until I was 17 maybe. And then I didn't play at all in my 20s. I moved to London at 20, and then just, London's hard, it's hard to play golf. Like, I was living in like Hackney. There wasn't a lot of golf around there. So I really, my 20s didn't really play much at all. And then in my 30s, took it up again properly, and then I've become sort of mildly obsessed with it. And I love that it'll always, hopefully, body willing and everything else willing, it'll always be around, And there's no other sport, like, there's really not, there's other sports that have very low impact on the body, like darts or something, but in terms of sports that like get you outside, that you can be uber competitive with because of the whole system of the handicap system of it. You can be competitive up until you're in your 90s. I mean, name me another sport that you can do that. And I love that you can travel all kinds of parts of the world, and there's golf there, and it's unlike the other golf that you've known of when you grew up, and it feels different and smells different, and it's I do love it. I watch so much of it. I'm obsessively, even tournaments that I'm not watching, I'm on that DP World Tour app, constantly just seeing.
Are you?
Yeah, constantly. Yeah, I really am.
Oh, that's amazing. And you mentioned Rory.
Yeah.
Do you follow him avidly? I mean, do you chat with him at all?
Yeah. Right, Craig Rory is a good friend. I love the guy. I think he's brilliant. I think he's one unbelievable ambassador for the game. Unbelievable ambassador for the part of the world that we're both from, and I mean, yeah, people got maybe a bit carried away. I think, you know, the hyperbole of like he saved golf last year, but look, it was very impressive the burden that he took upon himself last year with, you know, flying the flag for the PGA Tour and DP World Tour, I guess, against the whole live thing, and continues to do so, and to play the golf that he played last year, get himself back to number one in the world. It was nothing short of miraculous, truly, you know, and I think sadly there's been a little bit of fatigue that came. It took a while to come, but it's maybe come there. Maybe not at the best time, just before the major season got underway. But I think we're about to see a big bounce back from him. I really do believe he's going to win the. Yeah, I think he's going to win the Open. I really do. And then I think Augusta will become something else that's more sort of change how Augusta looks to him, I guess, if he gets another major. But no, I love the guy. I think he's. You know, there's a reason why. I think people in your game, in the punditry game, in other players, everyone, he's sort of judged differently, because anyone who knows a bit about golf knows that it's a sort of bit of a different grade for Rory. And, you know, everyone says, everyone's playing the best golf who wins. Everyone says Rory, all the commentators say Rory, all the past players say Rory, you know. That's not trying to undermine John Rahm or anything here, you know, or Scully Scheffler or anyone else who's up there. But when he's on form, there's really nothing like it. And I think we all, not just people who know him personally, but just everyone wants him to be on form all the time, because it's good for the game. It's very exciting to watch. But I have to say, like, similar to the way the American audiences, what they lose, particularly in his prime, but even more recently, if Tiger doesn't make the cut, they lose like 70% of their audience or something like that. It's an insane figure. Someone told me. I'm a bit like that with Rory. I have to say, it's not like I can't get excited watching other players, but, you know, let's take the Masters. The shine was off the Masters for me a little bit after Rory didn't make the weekend, and I wanted John Rahm to win. Delighted he won, and he deserves to win, and deserves to win loads more majors. But I had to sort of pick myself back up and go, right, come on, you can enjoy it just because it's not Rory going to be on the weekend or contending. That you can still enjoy it because you love the game. But yeah, he's a big part of it for me.
Oh, that's so funny. Come on, Jamie, you can enjoy this. Just you can watch other golfers.
Well, what was nice this year is we were here. I was already in Ireland for the Masters, and start filming. And my wife, my kids were here, and my sister and her family were here from the north. They'd driven down, and we sort of rented this lovely house in Wicklow. And my sister and her husband wouldn't watch any golf really, and my wife Millie likes watching the Masters because it's so pretty, and I always make her put a little cheeky bet on, and I actually talked her out of putting the each way bet on Phil Mickelson this year, because I was like, listen, she's always bet on Phil, and we've been together nearly 14 years. She's always bet on Phil, and I've always bet the Masters because it's a pretty safe bet. You know, he always shows up there. But I was like, look, he's nowhere near any form. He's playing a live, hardly gets to play any golf. He's been missing cuts there. Sorry, there aren't any cuts there. He's been not playing well there. I said I wouldn't bother him, and of course he goes and does that on Sunday. She would have made pretty good money. Anyway.
Millie.
But I know it was my fault, maybe.
Yeah, she shouldn't have listened to you.
No, terrible. But yeah, my sister and her husband got really into watching the Masters this year, and actually their enthusiasm sort of carried me out of my Rory missing the cut funk, and so it got me going. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And